Anita, how's your mental health?
Questionable at all times. You know this.
Yeah, how's the mental health of your children?
Also a little bit tricky. Can I tell you my experience in trying to find therapists for myself and my kids, Mel?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is how it goes. You ask around your friends and your family for a referral for somebody who's nearby. You finally find somebody who sounds like they might work for your family. You give them a call and you find out that A, they're not accepting new patients, or B, they have a huge wait list. So you start over again and you ask people if they know anybody who would be a good therapist and a good fit. Finally, you find one, you go and you meet with them and you figure out that you don't actually like them that much. But it's been so much work to find somebody who you can go to in your area that you're kind of stuck with them. Well, do you have any ideas for how to get around this?
I do, because guess what? I've actually had some therapists that I have found on my own, which involves what you're saying. Sometimes I remember one time I was like 3 hours in the bathtub on my phone looking
Yeah.
through websites. I was such a prune at the end. But I have also had the experience with working with BetterHelp. And it was like, I don't want to say too good to be true, but because it is true, but it's like amazing because I was matched with my therapist within 24 hours.
And you didn't have to go through all of that other ridiculous process of trying to find somebody. And here's the cool thing too, is if that person didn't work out for you, you can just switch and say, and it's not like you're committing to another years long search for somebody who you're going to jive with.
It's true. And I lucked out, or maybe just BetterHelp is really good at matching people together because I never had to change my therapist. I loved her. Perfect fit for me. And I know that some of our friends have used BetterHelp and they've had to change therapists, and boom, same day, you can change.
Easy peasy.
You can ghost your therapist. Get a new one.
I love this idea. BetterHelp is one of our sponsors. If you use our promo code trybetterhelp.com/WWDN, you get 10% off your first month. And we totally recommend it.
Yes, get some therapy. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Once again, we're coming to you on maybe a Tuesday.
Maybe this is just going to be our pattern. I don't know.
You know what, everyone? Thank you for your patience. I have had a disastrous year. So if it's not going to be on Monday, it'll be on Tuesday.
Yeah. So let's talk about your disastrous year. Yesterday was September 11th, which I think was a lot of the people in America anyway. It was maybe their first introduction to kind of a national grief. And so it's kind of interesting to be a part of that and to witness some of the memories surrounding that. And you have a particular hiccup. I don't know what the right word to say, but something that makes September 11th even a little bit weirder for you. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Scott's birthday is September 11th. And also our engagement anniversary is September 11th.
Yeah, so a lot of things in one day for you.
Yeah, it's conflicting. And right now I am full of rage and not happy emotions because of my life circumstances, because of some betrayal, which I talked about before, and abandonment. But we've also had extra trauma this week. We've had 2 members of the family in the hospital for scary things relating to suicide. So that's it.
Yeah.
I don't got a lot to say other than I just don't know anything.
Yeah. Well, everybody give Mel your positive vibes because it gets to be feeling so heavy that it's like, why are we even doing any of this? And so she could use all of your like support and love and kind words. And I think it really helps to know that she's making a difference in people's lives. So if you're feeling like Mel has made a difference in your life, let her know so that she can have something that's a little bit lighter and not so heavy and awful feeling.
Thanks, Anita.
You're welcome. So this weekend we had our Zoom hangs, which were lovely and fun. It was great to see. We had a lot of new faces, which is always fun to get to know a few new friends. We had some, I always struggle with how to say this. We had some experienced faces as well. And we got to chat with those people. So that was fun as well. Thank you to Autumn for heading that up. This coming weekend, There's a lot of banging outside my door. This coming weekend, David Kelly is going to be hosting a Zoom meeting that is around a specific topic of widow dating. That should be really, really interesting. There was some concern about having a Zoom call that had a topic like this in case people weren't ready to talk about that, or it was something, it can be kind of a sensitive topic, right? And so we're going to have a specific time. If you don't want to talk about it, don't join. But if you are curious, if you are wanting to talk to others who are in this same space, then that's going to be this Saturday at noon Mountain Time. It should show up in Facebook, in the Facebook group, as your time zone, whatever your time zone is.
Yep. So just click on the event and it'll tell you what time it is for you. It's also already in the app, the Widow We Do Now app. So if you don't have that yet, get it from the App Store. It works on all platforms and it's free.
Yeah. So that should be a good and enlightening time. I had this thought this week, Mel, that I wondered what your thoughts were on it. But bedtime for me is just like, it's just the worst. And it doesn't seem to get any easier. And I was thinking to myself, you know, looking back, I can see that we've made a lot of progress in how we function as a family of 5 instead of a family of 6. And then I was thinking to myself, is that just because I've become habituated to the awfulness of it? Does that make sense? Like, it's not actually getting better. It's just that I'm used to living in the awfulness of what is life now.
I mean, you've always said that it's been pretty bad, and it's never changed. I've never heard you say more than 5 times that it's been good. So I would say you're getting used to it.
I know, it makes me kind of sad because I'm like, no, like, we're getting better, we're doing better. And then I'm like, actually, are we? Or am I just getting used to the fact that my life is like really hard all the time? And I'm just getting used to the fact that it feels that way and it's not really getting better.
It's hard to know.
And maybe that's what healing in quotation marks is. I don't know.
You want to know something funny that somebody sent me this week?
Yeah.
It was this TikTok and it was like, don't wish for revenge on a person. If you want them to feel the pain, you wish them healing. Because healing is a bitch and it takes a long time.
That's funny. So are you going to use that advice?
I'm just trying to, like, honestly stay alive and, like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just here.
Tomorrow is my daughter's 16th birthday, which comes with some emotions, right? The 16th birthday is kind of a big deal. And her aunts got her this birthday card that made me laugh so hard. On the front, it had this nice picture, and it was like, many years ago, a person was born who was destined to change the world. And then you open the card up, and it says, calm down, it's not you, it's Jesus. She laughed and laughed and then gave it to me to look at. And I laughed and laughed, and it was good fun. So
nice. Well,
I love a good silly card. Yeah.
I've been just so entrenched in trauma and emergency situations this week that I don't even know what's going on with you. What's been happening? Sorry.
Well, that's okay. The birthdays happened. And the other thing that's happened that's a change is that, and you do know about this, Mel, but my boys have started going back to therapy, which brings some real feelings of stress to me for a lot of different reasons. But I'm hoping that it can be helpful. There's a lot of emotions that go with that. And also, it's just so expensive. I have too many children. But yeah, I'm hoping that it will be a good fit for them and help them work through some of the things that they're dealing with.
Yeah, good. Life is hard, man.
I know.
We're in this together, so let's help each other out somehow.
I know. I was reading somebody, though, who had written themselves a letter to their pre-death self, and I was thinking to myself, like, what would I write to myself in that letter? And it was kind of a cool experience to just think about that. I didn't actually officially write myself a letter, but I was thinking about how all of this has come about because of this horrible experience in both of our lives, and the people we've been able to meet and the community that we've been able to form and the travel that we've been able to do. And all of these things are a direct result of something that was so horrible. And I, just wanted to remind myself of that in the throes of the horribleness, that I would become a new person, and that some really great things would come out of it, even though I would prefer that it didn't have to happen that way. That's how it's happened.
Yeah. That's interesting you mentioned writing a letter to the former self, because in my quest, I don't know what the word is, my attempts to not sink down into the sinkhole of despair. I've talked about this before, how it's like I've realized like I have to like exercise and journal and do the meditation every single day. I can't even skip one day or I just like tank. I think that the trauma, I've had so much compounding trauma in such a short amount of time for, you know what I mean? It's compressed that like my brain just, I can't coast at all, which I'm mad about that too. So I guess I have to work through some anger about it. But my journaling looks different all the time, and it's not like it always makes me feel better. It does help me to get stuff out. I think that's kind of the point, is getting stuff out of your head, that energy out of your body, so that you can go about with your day. But the thing that I did this week, I didn't plan on doing it. It just kind of happened. I didn't feel like writing words. So what I did is I started drawing pictures. I drew a picture of my current self, like just a stick figure. Kind of like the podcast logo, since I drew that one. It looks like that. And then I drew another stick figure that had even cooler hair than mine. That was my higher self. And so then I just made this little comic strip about how I was feeling and like, well, what about this and this and this? And then the higher self would respond. And so it was interesting because as I was doing that, it's like my current self was actually like saying these things that I've been thinking and feeling. And then as I drew the picture of the higher self and then the thought or the speaking bubble, stuff just came out. And like I looked at it later and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have wisdom in us. We maybe don't feel it all the time, but it's in there. And then I was kind of mad about that because I'm like, well, if I have this wisdom inside of me, then like WTF, like why can't I just
why
be
isn't
okay?
it helping me? Yeah.
That's what I'm mad about. It's like I'm doing all the things. Every single thing that people are like, you should do this to feel better. Guess what? It doesn't even make me feel better. But I guess you just have to keep going. And I just must have a special, like, stupid life.
I feel like everybody listening would also echo that sentiment. I guess I just have a special stupid life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, we're all having a stupid special life. And I'm there with you. And all of our circumstances are different, yet sometimes the same, you know? So yeah. I feel you. I feel your pain. I feel your frustration when you go do the things that people say to do and it doesn't fix anything. But kudos to us for continuing to try. I think that's kind of the point, is to establish good habits. And I'm so mad about all of it that I'm just like, no, I'm not going to give up on this dumb exercise, reading, meditation, journaling, trying new things thing. Because time will pass. And I know that things might change. And maybe I need to check my attitude about having feelings. I've always had that. So yeah, I'm sure that's all part of it. But anyway, I am not unique from anybody that's listening to the podcast. So I hope it doesn't come across like I'm the only one with problems. Obviously not. Like, as you will hear with our next guest, she has her own problems. And just a warning to those who are sensitive to topics of suicide, this is a suicide widow episode. So take care. Gina is such a great lady and she's very positive, and we really loved interviewing her. So hopefully if you're able to listen, it won't be something that is harmful to you. I thought that she handled it very well and how she came across. So
agreed. Mel, we have kind of an announcement to make.
Oh, we keep forgetting. This is especially going out to our friend Neil, my hair sister twin. Neil.
Sister.
Yeah, that's what he called us.
We will be speaking at Camp Widow in Toronto, up in the cold north. Why is Camp Widow Toronto in November? Please, somebody explain that to me. We're going to be coming, though. We're excited to meet some of our friends up in Toronto, so we hope that you can join us. We were not able to go to the pop-up camp in Denver, but we heard that a lot of our friends went and had a great time there. So if you're on the fence about Camp Widow, if you're thinking, well, I'm going by myself, I don't know anybody, of course you're going by yourself. Like 99% of the people who go for their first time are going by themselves, but you will almost guaranteed leave with more widowed friends than you came with. So I haven't really talked to anybody who regrets their decision to go to Camp Widow. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. And we'll be there, so you can come and say hi to us, and hopefully we'll be able to find some tacos in Canada.
You can be our friend. Or Neil. Neil needs some friends. You guys don't even know Neil yet, and you are missing out. Someday soon, we might have to talk to him. So, yeah, there are lots of really great people there, and everybody gets it. And you know what? I have a recommendation for Soaring Spirits International. How about Camp Widow San Diego is in November.
I know.
Always. And Camp Widow Toronto is in July. The best time in Canada.
I know. This only makes sense. The only reason I think they don't do that is because they have the kids' camp in San Diego. But I concur. I know.
You know what, Anita? There is a store called Loveliest in Toronto, and we're going to go there, and you're going to love it. And we're getting cheese there. It's amazing.
Have you ever watched Arrested Development and the attorney's name is Bob Blah Blah?
I forgot.
It's my favorite. Let's talk about Patreon, shall we?
Do you guys know what it is? Hopefully you do. If you've been listening the whole time, you'll know. And if you're new,
hopefully.
It's a way to help us to keep the podcast going so that we continue to bring you episodes.
Absolutely. All right. If you go to patreon.com/WWDN, that's how you sign up. There's different benefits for each of our 4 tiers. At the $10 and up level, you get a shout out in each of our episodes. So we're going to go ahead and do that now.
And another thing you get is ad-free content, ad-free episodes at the $10 and above level.
We are going to start with our secret dead husbands. And to her, them, we say, Highway to the Widow Zone. I watched Top Gun. This is really good.
Constance Dahlbeck.
David Kelly.
Don Satterwhite.
Emily Wesenberg.
Gail Bell.
Ivan Misner.
Kat.
Krista Waite.
Maya Glasser.
Neil Hooper.
My hair sister. Sam Finlayson.
Amber Alanes. Vela. Sorry.
Amy Hartman Martell.
Amy Neal.
Ashley Hahn.
Barbara Schneeberger.
Brandy Younger.
Brittany Pedro.
Chris Steffen.
Cindy Wilkerson.
Danielle Catterberg.
Debbie. Not a Debbie Downer.
Dennis Brazo.
Jean Marie Massey.
Jenny Taylor.
Jennifer Beal.
Jennifer Brown.
Jenny Wang.
Jesse Johnson.
Carol Schultz.
Kelly Ford.
Kirsten Stromberg-Clausen.
Laura Aguirre Penner.
Lauren Old.
Lou Clausen.
Auntie Marie Hoffman.
We had a good talk the other day. Thanks, Marie. Good. M.K. Anderson.
Patricia Wiest.
Rachel Barbosa.
Sarah Morris.
Simone Fu.
Sunshine Haven.
The Sylvia.
Taylor Snyder.
The Winehouse Karen.
Amy Burke. Hello. Amy.
Welcome. Ann Drennan.
Anna Tracy.
Audrey Henniger. Also welcome. Christina Scambato. Who the heck are you?
Who the heck are you?
According to number 4.
Christine Anderson.
Cindy Raynaud.
Connie Remich.
John Barber.
Debbie Fells.
Deborah Westwood.
Diana Becker.
Emily Toledo.
Eric Vandermeulen.
Gabe Lozano.
Gia Benoit.
Gina Haas.
Yeah. Ian Sini.
Ileana Bell.
Jackie.
The Jane.
Another secret patron.
Jennifer Davis.
Jenny Armstrong.
Jenny Barrow.
Jocelyn Milo.
Julie Stevenson.
Judy Malkin.
Karina Jacobo.
Kathy Murray.
Katie Getz.
Katie Radcliffe.
Kara the Scara.
Kara Mascara.
That was a good one.
Kevin Ferry.
Chris Morgan.
Laura Keeley.
Yes, finally. Finally. Listen, I need this week.
You do.
Lindsay Kanopka.
Lori Farrington.
Marjorie Lewis.
Marianne Hammond.
Marianne McDonald.
Woot woot. Mary McGowan.
Megan Montague.
Melissa Bowers.
Melissa Hancock.
Missy Schubert.
Naomi Brown.
Peter Rukavina.
Rebecca.
Guess what?
Oh, what?
I learned how to say her name. It's Rebecca Olamaker.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. How did you know?
She was on our Zoom call, and she said, my name's Rebecca Olamaker.
Oh, cool. Becky the Zebra.
Robin Flam.
Stacey Saywert.
Tammy Terravest.
Tara Wallace.
Trenton Thompson.
Valerian Rebel Packer.
And finally, we have F-18 pilot Wendy. Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. You guys are the ones who allow the podcast to keep going out for free for everybody, so we really appreciate your support and your love. Keep it up.
Yeah, did you guys know that sometimes on iTunes, certain shows, just to listen to any of them, you have to pay a subscription?
Mm-hmm. We don't want to do that.
No, I hate that. That sucks. So if you are so inclined, please donate so that we can keep it free, because that is annoying.
And if you're not able to do a recurring donation, then you can also buy us tacos at buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww. And if neither of those things work, if you just give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, that also really helps people to find the podcast when they need it.
Yeah. And share with your friends. Share everywhere.
I love share. All right. Should we get to our episode, Mel?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
We're two young widows. We live in the, what did you say it was? The stupid sucky life? I can't remember.
We live in the something.
Well, we're just trying to help you guys figure out widow.
Stupid special life.
Stupid special life. And we're just trying to help you figure out widow.
Me.
Do. Now.
Widow me do now.
Widow me do now. Yeah, both.
Me want food. Baby shark do 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 do. Widow. Widow shark do 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 do. Widow shark. Hey, we have a widow shark here with us. I don't know what a widow shark is, Anita, but we have
just
one.
Invented it.
Yeah, we made it up.
Who's our widow shark? Tell us who you are.
Yeah, tell us who you are, widow shark. Do 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 do.
Am I the widow shark?
Yeah.
You are now.
I'm Gina.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Sometimes we assume that unless we had a huge life insurance payout, we don't really need to know anything about investments or even finances. But guess what? A little knowledge of finances is critical for all of us. Maybe your partner was in charge of that stuff, and now you find yourself making all the decisions. Maybe you're mad about that. Maybe I am. Nicole from the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast is here to help. She tackles financial literacy by telling the stories of women and widows and finance experts, and shares the lessons they've learned as certified financial planners. Whether you know a lot and feel confident in your financial decisions or feel unsure about all of that stuff, there is more to learn. Listen and subscribe to the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast on all podcast platforms. This ad was paid for by Rockhouse Financial, an SEC registered investment advisor. Gina, do you have a last name, or are you just the artist formerly
known as Gina? No, my name
the
is
artist formerly known as Gina?
It's very simple. Gina Farr.
Gina Farr. Do 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 do.
Name is 8 letters.
It is.
Simple.
And it was before I got married too, so yeah, it was kind of a bummer.
Gina, we're so glad to have you here today. We're also sorry that you're a widow like us. That's usually why people are here. So sorry and welcome, and you're awesome. Where do you live right now?
I live right outside of Orlando, Florida.
Oh.
We were just there. We could have visited
yeah?
you. We went to, yeah. We went to Tampa for Camp Widow, and then
Right.
we went to Harry Potter World.
All right, nice.
Nice. Well, so you are in the Sunshine State.
I am. I'm a beach girl.
Did you grow up there?
I did. I was born in Michigan, but my parents moved here when I was 5. So
It's because Michigan is too cold.
yes, exactly. We're beach
But
people.
Florida's too hot.
Well, not if you're at the beach. It's perfect.
Okay. Fair.
Okay, Gina. So we want to get to know you a little bit. What's your sign? What's your favorite color? And how old are you? And let's talk about politics and religion
Oh,
too.
yay.
Kidding about the last part. Please, let's not.
I think I'm a Leo. I'm not sure. I don't know that stuff very well, but I think I'm a Leo. August. So my favorite color is orange. I don't know why.
What?
It is.
Cool.
I love orange. And then I'm 54 as of this moment right now. Yeah. I'm a Gigi. I'm a new Gigi. So I have my first
Congrats.
grandchild. Thank you.
You don't look old enough to be a
Thank
grandma.
you. Thank you. I love you. You're my new best friend.
Thank you. We're best friends. Do do do
Oh,
do
gosh.
do. Everyone else hates me now. I'm sorry to all the parents out there.
Yeah, now it's going through everyone's head.
Yes, you're welcome and sorry.
Oh.
Well, Gina, let's get to know you a little bit as far as your person goes. Who is your person? Tell us about the whole situation.
So my person's name was David, or is David. We had known each other since we were 10 years old, or I was 10, he was 7. I was robbed the cradle a little bit. But our families went to the same church together. So my parents and his parents were actually best friends. So we grew up together. I was his sister's best friend growing up. And once he graduated high school, I was like, hey, he's kind of cute now that he's a little legal age. So,
And he doesn't eat paste anymore.
no, exactly. He's not stupid anymore. So we started dating and got married, and we were married for 25 years. We had 3 kids. We had a pretty simple life. I was a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled for all those years. And we have 3 great kids. They're fun. They're really good kids. Very musical family.
Oh, tell me everything. What do they do?
Everybody plays or sings or does everything. For my son's graduation, we all sang and played a song together. We like to do that. So just really fun family. It's kind of those kids that you're like, hey, they like hanging out with me. I'm cool. Anyway,
you seem very fun and very cool.
Thank you. I think I am. So we had just a really good family. Really, we were a church family. We went to church my whole life. My kids went to church their whole life. And then in 2017, we had a really big year. My daughter got married and she moved to Germany with her husband. And then we celebrated my 50th and we celebrated our 25th anniversary. And then right after that, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
You guys!
Oh, same Z's.
Yep. When I heard your story, Anita, I was just like, it seems more common nowadays. But
what kind was it?
I don't remember. I was just so it happened right before everything else happened. So I really don't remember. But I had my entire thyroid taken out.
Got it.
So, but everything was fine. I didn't have to have any chemo, any of that. So everything was like, it's all good now. You're all good. So that was right after the first of the year. And then right after that, my husband got let go from his job of 22 years, just decided that we're going to go in a different direction. They fired all management. So we lost all of our insurance, all of our life insurance, all of our retirement, all of those fun things. And my husband was kind of just lost, didn't know, what do I do? So he decided he was going to start a business. He started a business. It didn't go like he thought. If he had just held on, COVID, it was a business kind of like Uber Eats, DoorDash, that kind of thing. It was the beginning of that. So it would have taken off. But it just didn't go like he thought. And so I started working part-time after 20 years of not working. And we were kind of worried about what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? He talked to several of our friends and got some advice, and things just weren't, he was getting frustrated. And we spent a lot of money on this business and it just wasn't going how we thought. So one night we went for a walk and we talked about what are we going to do. We had a lot of equity in our home, so we could sell our home. Let's sell our home. Our kids are grown; they're all graduated. They can get out, do their own thing.
Get out.
It's time.
We're done.
It's time. So we moved to the beach. He was a surfer. We just talked about him opening up a surfboard repair shop or something. And we talked about how we're good. Let's just get an apartment. Let's do our condo at the beach. Let's do that. And things seemed like, okay, we're going to be fine. We're going to be good. The next morning, I had to go to work and we had friends staying at our house. So there were a lot of cars in our driveway, and I asked him to move a car so that I could get to work. So we went outside and I kissed him goodbye. And when I left, I just waved goodbye to him and he waved goodbye. And I went to work. And I guess it was about an hour and a half later, I was at work and someone came back and said, "Hey, Gina, somebody's here to see you." And I thought, oh, I wonder who it is. So I was fixing my hair, and I went out there and here's two police officers standing there. And they said, "Mrs. Farr, we need to take you home. There's been an accident." And I said, "Oh, well, I have my car. I can drive home." Nothing was in my head at this point. I was thinking, I can drive home, that's not a problem. And they said, "No, ma'am, we need to take you home. We can't let you drive." I thought, that's weird, so got my stuff. They put me in the police car, held my head so I didn't hit, and I'm thinking everybody downtown is thinking, what'd she do? Why are they taking her? But the whole way home, I kept saying, what happened? What's going on? They wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't tell me anything. We can't tell you. We can't tell you. So I was starting to think, well, my son's home. My husband's home. Everyone else is at work or gone. And I had my phone. So I thought, I'm going to call my mom. So I picked up my phone and I called my mom, who lives about 45 minutes away. She answered hysterical. And she said, "I just got out of the shower. We're coming." And I said, "For what?" And she said, We're coming there. We'll be there in a few minutes." And I was like, "They won't tell me anything." And she said, "It's okay. We're coming." And I thought, okay, what is happening? Why does everyone know this stuff but me? I didn't know what was happening. Well, my brother would happen to be a police officer in our town years before. And I guess some friends had called him and told him. So he called my parents and told them. So we pulled up to my neighborhood and we pull up to the house and I see probably 15 police cars in front of my home. And that's when my stomach just dropped because, I'm still thinking my son is home. He's 21. And I thought, okay, what happened? I didn't know what happened. He was going to the police academy. So he had a new gun. And I thought, well, maybe, he was cleaning it. Maybe something happened because they said it was an accident, so I thought. So there's police tape all over the front of my yard, all over the front of my house. And I was like, oh, Lord, okay, you're going to have to help me because I don't know what's going on. And I get out of my car or the car and a man meets me and he says, "I'm the chaplain with the police department." And I said, "What is happening? What is going on?" And he said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but your husband took his life." And I said, "No, he didn't. He wouldn't do that." I was just, that's not us. That's weird, And he's like, "Yes, ma'am, he did." And I was just standing there and I'm thinking, okay, this is not, and I kept saying, that's not us. We don't do that. I guess I was in denial. I just didn't want to accept it. But I kept saying, what really happened? What's going on? And my son came out of the house and he told me, he did, Mom. He found him. He was working out on the back porch and he heard the gunshot. So he actually went in and tried to help his dad and gave him CPR and called 911 and everything. So he was witness to the whole thing. Yeah, that was very traumatic. And so I just kind of fell to my knees because, it was just total shock. your life just stops, right there. You guys know that news, just changes your life forever. And they asked me, do you want to go inside? And I was like, no, no, I didn't want to go anywhere near my house. My in-laws happened to live a block away. So that's where we all gathered, and family and all my church friends, and everybody started gathering down there. But I was just kind of sitting in the living room, and people were coming up to me, and I just don't remember what happened, but I remember someone saying, do we need to call Emma? And that's my daughter, Germany. And I was just like, oh crap. That was the hardest part for me. They had gone and gotten my other daughter from school and work. And I just said, oh, I can't do it. So my father-in-law actually called her, and then my church friends arranged to have her, and she and her husband fly home that night. So they got them home the next day, which was wonderful. But it's just, you go along and you're this perfect little family, you think, of here's us and here we are, and everything's wonderful for 25 years. It was not really. I'm just saying that's what I thought, and that's what I wanted to believe, and I wanted others to believe. And then your whole life just suddenly changes in one little incident.
So, had he struggled with depression or anxiety or any mental health issues? Was this, I mean, it seems like it wasn't on your radar at all that this could be a possibility.
He was very quiet. He didn't share his feelings at all, ever. He was a very get this done, just do it kind of person. I struggled with depression, and it was more like just get up and do it, kind of a thing. He was very active. He was very fit. He did have some addiction issues. And so, but it wasn't just, it was like addicted to exercise or addicted to, it was whatever it was, he was addicted to it, and it became an issue. So it was that kind of a thing. And I think once the work went away, there was nothing to do. And he was just literally sitting at the computer waiting for work to come. And he's not a sitter. He was never one to just sit and do nothing. And I think that got the best of him, and not being around people. He is a jokester. And so I think that was where if there was a depression, it was that he was no longer around people and doing things and active. And, I had to go to work. The kids were at work. They were at school. So he's not used to sitting at home doing nothing. So no, I had no inclination whatsoever that this was ever an issue.
And you said your son that was in the police academy was living with you guys, right?
Yeah, he lives with us. He didn't actually start the academy till after this happened, but he was
okay.
He was in the Army. And
did he see any signs? Either, like, every single person was just completely shocked.
Completely shocked. And people ask me that all the time. Didn't you see this? And didn't you? Well, wasn't he sad? And well, of course he was sad. He lost his job. He was a man who was worried of how I'm going to pay the bills. He lost his job. He was starting a new business. It was stressful, but he didn't talk to me. When I talked to him the night before, great, let's do that. That's exciting. No inclination at all that was enough to put him over the edge. So it's very frustrating to me when I hear podcasts or I hear doctors say, oh, there's always a sign. There's always a sign. That's very easy to say if you haven't been in that situation, or, hindsight is 2020. Now I look and I think, oh, but he, like I said, he didn't share his feelings very well. And he hid a lot of it from our friends. He was with one of our best friends. He was with him the day before all day, went to lunch, hung out with him all day, didn't say a word. And that's so that's stressful on them because they're like, what didn't I see? How did I not catch this? So it's the whole situation just sucks because it puts a lot more on guilt on people that are left behind, because that's that guilt of, how did I not know? How did I not see it? How did I not stop it? What could I have done differently?
When you said that it's irritating to you or it's hurtful to you when people say, "What, why didn't you see the signs?" I think that's also really hard because that implies that you have some responsibility over somebody else's choices, and then you have to kind of defend that it wasn't you who chose to do that, or it wasn't your responsibility to prevent that either. Of course, we talk about suicide prevention, like we don't want people to die by suicide, but also it's really awful when that does happen that we immediately go to the family members and we say, what did you do? What didn't you do? Probably not quite so, pointedly, but kind of that's the implication that people make.
Oh, I have terrible anxiety of walking around. His family and my family are very well known in our small town, and walking through the store, and I feel like people are looking at me like, what did she do that it was so bad to live with her, that he had to do that. I have anxiety about that. I have guilt about that. I have guilt that maybe his family's thinking that, his sisters are thinking that. It's hard because I felt like it was my responsibility. The first thing I said to his mother was, "I'm sorry." And she said, "Darling, you have nothing to be sorry for," and that made me, feel good. But it is a thing.
Bless her for saying
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, mother-in-law.
Yeah. Because
I don't think we've ever said that on this podcast before.
I don't think I've ever said that either.
Just kidding, we have.
Man, well, and I mean, just us hearing the story, it sounds like you have a close, tight-knit, fun family. You are this ray of sunshine. He lost his job and you guys had some ideas that you were looking forward to. You moved to the beach. And
I know.
You know what I mean? And so it's like somebody could look at that and just think, well, yeah, like people lose their jobs all the time, but it maybe wouldn't be a reason for them in their mind to go and take their own life. But obviously it was eating at him. And
yeah,
it's also, like Anita said, I always think about this when people talk about suicide for prevention. Do you feel like there's just only so much that can be done because we can never take choice away from somebody else?
Well, yeah, because, I could have taken the gun. I could have hidden it. I could have, we had a gun for protection. That's the kind of family I grew up. My brothers are police officers. My father, that's what we do. I could have hidden it if I thought or felt anything. I would have hidden it. I would have taken. My son now we have a safe, but he would have had the same. You think you can do things. I don't know. It's still a choice, like you said, and there are people that have been through what he's been through that did not choose to do that. I was going through it as well. I have massive depression. I have, I didn't choose to do that. So I feel you can only do so much. He was in counseling. We were both in counseling, marriage counseling, but yet we both started going separately. So she was devastated. Like, what? So imagine that.
Did she not even see signs as the therapist?
Oh, not that he was going to do that.
Like he just didn't tell a single soul anything.
Never.
And
never.
With a lot of suicides, we've learned that there is the element of impulsivity also.
Well, it happened very quickly. Like the policeman told me, he let the dogs out and waved to my son. And my son says within 2 minutes, he heard a gunshot. So he climbed into the bathtub and so it was very impulsive. And so a lot of his family says he snapped, something snapped. But then I have things where he said things to me a week before. He showed me all the passwords on his computer and and everything. And the policeman said, that was your note. And, I'm like, so he was thinking about it a week before, so these little things, you just don't know. You don't know what's in someone's head unless they're telling you and they're admitting, and they're asking for help.
Gina, after my husband died, I don't know if Mel, you had the same thing, but I had this need to figure out the timeline and to figure out what happened when and why and how and who knew what when. And I can only imagine that it would even be up on steroids in that case, because you would want to know when they had made that decision, what went into that decision, what did they think was going to happen. It would just be so hard to have all these questions.
Yeah.
And be able to have none of the answers.
Oh,
none of them, because you can't ask the person.
No, and
unless you see a medium.
There was no note,
and still,
there was no note, and so we went back to the house that night. My brothers and my brother-in-laws went to the house and cleaned up, because the police don't do that; they leave it as it is. And so they went and cleaned up for us. And we said, we're going to stay in our house. Our animals need us to stay here. We're going to sleep in our home. And so we went back to our house that night, and I stayed up all night. I tore my bedroom and my bathroom apart, looking for clues, looking for something. Did he leave me a note in the drawer? Did he leave me a note under the bed? Did he, just anything? Why did he do this? I was on the computer. For weeks, I was looking on the computer, trying to find something. I almost wished I had found something to give me an answer, There's no answer, and I won't know that answer until I see him again in heaven, but I'm not going to care then. I always say, when I get to heaven, I'm going to punch him in the face, and then I'm going to hug him.
Well, and you had known him since he was 7 and you were 10, right?
Yeah. He's been in my life since I was 10 years old. So it's, one way or the other. We didn't have a perfect marriage. I wasn't a perfect ray of sunshine for 25 years. I'm difficult. We've had our issues. We were going to marriage counseling, but, you think, okay, we're going to get through this. We're going to, when the kids get older and they all move out and, everything's better, we're going to be retired and we'll have time to ourselves. And, that's where I feel the most robbed. And you guys probably feel this way too. I 25 years, I feel robbed of my retirement, of my plans to have my husband to hold hands with and walk down the beach when we're 80 years old. I had to go back to work. I was 50 years old. I had to go back to work full time after 20 years of not working. I live with my daughter because I cannot afford to live by myself. My life changed dramatically, and I've had a lot of anger. I have a very, very good grief counselor who gets me through. But man, the anger, we ended up having him cremated, and he was a kayaker and a paddleboarder, and he loved this place that he always went since he was a kid. And so we went and spread his ashes there. I'm not going to say where because I don't want to get in trouble, but
you're not supposed to.
We spread his ashes there because we thought this is where he wanted to be, so I go there once in a while. The kids will go and talk to him. I go and throw rocks because I'm like, I've had to work, 40 hours straight, so I do have some anger. I'm working through it. Obviously I mourn my husband, obviously, but I'm also mourning the life that I no longer have, or thought, I thought I was going to have, and I no longer am going to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know that dying by suicide is different than some other deaths that some of us have become a widow by. Will you talk to us about some of those things? Because we want to treat this subject sensitively for you and for our friends who are in a similar situation. What can you tell us about what do we need to know so that we can help support better and make it so that we're not treating this too lightly?
I think there's a feeling, from personal experience, I have this feeling of people would say, oh, welcome to the club. Women who were 70 years old and their husbands had passed away, and you're one of us now. And I had this feeling, and I don't know if it was because I was younger. I'm not as young as you guys, but I was younger. Um, I felt like it wasn't fair because he chose this for me, whereas their husbands didn't choose that for them. That wasn't a choice. My husband chose this for me, and yet I've had many people tell me he what he was thinking. Of course, nobody knows what he was thinking, but what he was thinking was, how do I get rid of this pain? How do I get, I'm not good for people here, whatever. But he chose this path for me. And that makes me feel different than the other widows that I talk to, because it doesn't feel fair. And I know everyone's death doesn't feel fair, but the fact that we had a pact, and we had a vow, and we said we were going to do this, and then he ended that. And it's different than divorce, because I can't argue with him. I can't try to reconcile. I can't, I don't know how to explain it, but it just feels different. So it is different. And every single death is different. Every single widow situation is different. No matter if you've been through the exact same thing, your situation is different. So we need to be conscious of that. But I do think it is a different situation because you feel like you got gypped.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Times a million.
Yeah.
And by your person.
By your person. That's what I mean. By your person.
Our husbands didn't make the choice and he did. And so it takes you into this whole thing like, why would he do that to me? And I think it's hard to get into that mindset that for whatever reason, he thought that was an improvement.
Right.
Upon what was happening right now, which means that a person who dies by suicide has to be in some serious inner turmoil, whether you can see it or not, because they aren't choosing that like out of convenience or fun or, it's because whatever is happening, they think that is the best option.
Absolutely.
It's so hard.
Well, and I had someone say to me, it was the bravest and the most cowardice thing he'd ever done. And I'm sure he always thought of his family. I'm sure that's what he was thinking about. But yet he didn't know what it was going to do to us. My children still have issues with that.
I wanted to ask you just said a word and I wanted to springboard off of that. You used the word cowardice. And I wonder if people around you or the community, if they've said things or implied things that were really insensitive like that or really nasty like that. Or even if they were trying to be helpful, but they used that word. Have you encountered people who have just really sucked at being humans and supporting people?
Nobody really,
Oh, good.
But most people are very sensitive. They loved him. There were 500 people at his funeral that loved him. And his sister asked, if you've ever been affected by David's kindness, raise your hand. And everyone in there raised their hand. Everyone's in just like, what? That mode.
I, like Anita said, the word cowardice, I want to talk about the word brave, because it's interesting. I was having this conversation with a friend who actually tried to end their life. And we were talking about suicide, and this person has had a lot of familial suicides as well. There's a history of mental health in the family, like severe mental health, depression, and things like that, in extended family. And so we were talking about it, and my friend said, I hate it when people say, oh, they're just a coward for doing that, because it actually takes so much bravery to get to that point to where you're going to end your life, and it's going to affect everybody around you too. And you're also not in your healthy mind. So I want to bring attention that you said bravery and cowardice as well, and I think that's such a poignant way to put that. What do you feel about all that, other than it's stupid and it sucks?
It's still stupid and it still sucks because it's 4.5 years out, and I struggle because I see my kids struggle, and my new granddaughter, and I think you should be here. you should be here for this, and I struggle. I'm still in counseling. I love my husband. We had our issues. I'm struggling because he made a lot of decisions in our marriage that affected me that I wasn't included on. And this feels like the ultimate screw you. I'm going to make this.
Be like a betrayal, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It does because we talked about it and he seemed like everything was fine. He could have told me right then. You could have told me, I'm struggling. Help me. And I would have jumped through hoops to help him, and he didn't. And that I wrote in my journal every day. And one of the things I wrote was, I'm sorry that you didn't feel safe enough with me to tell me that you were struggling. And so I have a lot of guilt.
Gotta hurt.
Yeah, it does, because it is like a betrayal. And no one understands that but women who've been through it. His mother's not going to understand that. His sisters aren't going to understand that. My mother, my kids aren't going to understand that. I mean, they do, but
It's
different.
I feel like it's different even than other widows of a similar age or, children's status or whatever. I think you guys kind of have your own little club within a club, because it does come with a lot different emotions and a lot of very isolating experiences within the isolating experience. And I find that a lot of people don't want to really talk about it because it does come with, you don't want to tarnish the memory of your person. You don't want them to just be defined by the last moment of their life. And I think a lot of times we tend to do that. When you meet strangers, are you very open about that? Because, the question is, when they find out that your husband died, the first thing they say is, oh, how did they die? Do you or do you just tell it to them?
I just tell them, because when my oldest daughter has always been very involved with this organization that it's about suicide and prevention. And so she'd always been involved in that. And then, so when my husband died, we were like, okay, we aren't going to hide this. We're not going to be ashamed of it. This is what happened, and we're going to be advocates for it. We're going to tell people the truth. No more lies, no more secrets. This is what happened, and we don't want it to happen to anybody else. And so even at his funeral, my daughter, gave this speech about, if you're hurting, if you're struggling, please tell someone, and I actually had an old childhood friend message me that night and say, I've been struggling with that. And I know that I need help because of what happened. And thank God, I was like, oh my gosh. So, we are very open about it. Sometimes I think my friends they don't get tired of it, because I know they love me and they want to help me. But sometimes I'm like, I made a joke the other day about your shirt that says something about something, but don't mess with me or something because my husband's dead. And
my husband is dead.
And my friends were like, they did not find it funny because they're not, yeah. So anyway, I think we need to just be open and honest, because we've done a couple of 5Ks for this organization. It's called To Write Love on Her Arms. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's suicide prevention. And so we've done a couple of 5Ks with them, stuff like that, because we want to be open, and so that this doesn't happen again. And that's why I tell my story, because I want people to be open and know that it's okay to talk about it. It has happened in our church. I have known 5 men that have done this since my husband. I mean, go to a large church, but still. And so one of the pastors is like, could you please call the wife? Because I'm on the worship team at my church. I sing at my church. And so I've been handling it well. I was going to counseling. I was first year, I was doing really well. Second year, I was doing really well. The third year was kind of rough. But he was like, you're doing well. Could you please contact the widow? And I was, oh gosh, so I would contact them. They never called me back. They never contacted me back, but it's happening, and we need to talk about it so that there's awareness that it's okay to tell someone. It's okay to tell someone you're struggling and you need help.
Man. Well, it's interesting. We've noticed in the Widow Wives Club, not so much recently. We've noticed a shift, but probably earlier when the group was started, if somebody's person died by suicide, they wouldn't mention, because we have a welcome post in there, and it's like just say hey, introduce yourself if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to, but most people that did not have a suicide were like, oh, I'm a cancer widow, or my person had a heart attack, or da da da. And very few would say they were suicide widows, even if they were. They just would probably bypass that. And we've noticed that it only takes one or two suicide widows to post and be open about it for then more people to be open about it. It's like, I remember specifically a time where that happened, and then it was like all of a sudden people seemed a little bit more comfortable acknowledging to the group or letting the group know that that's how they became a widow. And so, yeah, like you're doing, talking about it seems to be helping others to be able to talk about their own stories or to realize that they need to get some help.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed if I post something, the comment, me too, I'm right there, and someone will say, oh, I didn't know there were others. And people are like, oh, yeah, we're right there with you. I think unfortunately, it's becoming common. I don't know the statistics, but they're a lot worse than they used to be, especially during COVID. After this happened, people are like, oh, you need to go to a grief group. You need to go to a grief group. So I went to a grief group at my church, and I was by far the youngest person in there. And, I went a couple times, and it's like, there was an 87-year-old man in there crying that he didn't know how to open a can of soup.
Oh.
And I just couldn't. I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me. I can't do this.
Do you know why he was struggling? Because now they have the pop tops, and he was remembering back to World War II, where you had to use that fancy can opener thing.
He probably couldn't find the can opener.
Yeah, he didn't know it was easy.
He didn't need to. He just needed the pop top.
But I felt so bad.
Sir.
I would come home crying every night. I'm like, okay, this is not helping me.
Oh man.
These people have been married 70 years. 65, 70 years, and so it wasn't for me. So I decided I needed my own grief counselor, and that has been very helpful.
So Gina, I'm curious, you talked about feeling a lot of guilt about what you could have, should have, would have done. Are there things that you wish you would have done, number one? And number two, are you working through those feelings of guilt? Are you able to kind of recognize them and process them through and out?
I have worked through a lot of them. One of the things that my counselor taught me is his baggage, he took it with him. I can no longer carry his baggage. I can no longer, I don't know how to say this. He struggled in our marriage when the kids grew up and no longer wanted to play with him. Then you got to go find other people that want to play with you, and he doing a little bit of drinking and stuff. And I don't want to go into all that, but yet it affected our marriage. And so I was always investigating where he is, what he's doing, who he's talking to. I was on the computer all the time. And that's part of the reason we were going to counseling. And that bothered him so much that I was trying to keep tabs on him and that kind of thing. And I didn't understand why until now. And, a little bit after he died, I had this feeling, and I'm saying this because I know that the other have been through this will kind of understand that it was a relief that I no longer have to worry where he is, who he's with, what he's doing, is he safe. I would never say that to my mother-in-law, but it was a relief. And I thought, he's safe. And then I felt guilt for that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just felt that, So I'm working through those things, but yeah, I like what my counselor said, excuse me, that his baggage is with him. I don't have to carry that anymore. I no longer have to worry about that. I can move forward in my life because my life is not over because his life is over. He chose that for himself. I choose to live. And so I have to move forward. I can't just sit in my room and eat mac and cheese and M&Ms every day. I have to move forward. I have to live my life.
That
I want
sounds
to do
pretty
that.
good.
You could do that if
Oh, I
you
did it
wanted.
for months.
Okay, good. Good.
Did you have soup also?
No soup, Kraft mac and cheese, ice cream with M&Ms.
Which kind of M&Ms are your favorite?
That was my
It's
same
important.
question.
Well, now
Most
the brownies are my favorite.
I haven't tried
Oh,
those.
they're so good. But plain M&Ms with ice.
I don't like plain M&Ms
Guys,
that
peanut
much,
butter
guys.
M&Ms. I'm sorry,
Just-
they're the best.
Oh, yeah.
I love
So
those.
I
good.
used to love the Rice Krispie, but they got rid of the Rice Krispie ones. You can't
What?
find them anymore.
Have you tried the mint crispy ones?
No.
They're
Welcome
yummy,
to
too.
a
That could be a new question.
Can this podcast please be sponsored by M&Ms, please? Come on, guys.
So yeah, there is some guilt, of feeling relieved, of feeling, okay, now what am I going to do? And I had to just let it go. I had to realize I can't just continue to feel like what was happening, what happened, what went wrong, I had to move forward. I had to turn off the computer. I had to get rid of his computer. I got rid of his phone. I had to move forward and to live my life.
This might be the dumbest question ever, and if it is, I'm sorry. Do you think that it's possible to get rid eventually of all guilt regarding this situation? Is that something that's even doable?
I thought it was, but sometimes I'll be sitting there and it slaps me across the face. So I think, okay, it's back, So I don't know. I'm only 4.5 years out, so I don't know.
Because even if there's not a suicide, there's still guilt. I think all
Sure.
of us carry guilt. I mean,
I could have done
it's
this.
different,
Yeah.
different situation. So what is your life looking like now? What are you looking forward to?
Well, it's gotten a lot better since I had a new grandbaby. She lives in Canada now, so I went for her birth and just got back from that. So I have traveled. I never would travel before because I was so afraid of everything. I was afraid of being left alone. I was afraid of this. I was afraid of dying. I was afraid of everything. And now I'm like, I've lived through my husband dying. I can do this,
Yes, ma'am.
So my kids were in Germany at school, so I flew to Germany and spent Christmas with them. I've been traveling, so now I'm looking forward to being able to support myself, getting to the point where I can support myself in this crazy inflated world. But I've started dating. I've started looking forward to maybe one day being married again. I would like to. I was married for 25 years. I liked it. I liked being a wife and a mother. So I'd like to do that again sometime. Maybe not a mother, but
Whoa.
not at 54, but my kids are grown and flown.
How has it been dating, and do you open up about your story initially? Do you wait? What's kind of your protocol?
I do open up because I do put on my profile that I'm a widow. And, of course, they want to know what happened. So I tell them, I've only been on, I guess, 4 dates. Because dating's hard when you're in your 50s. Everybody my age wants to date somebody in their 30s, and everybody that wants to date someone my age is in their 70s.
They need their soup open.
They do.
Come on.
They need their soup can open. So
That's actually, I think, true.
it's hard because they're on their second win, right? And they're like, hey, I could date a good-looking 30-year-old. You're like, well, there's people your age. So it's been hard, but my kids are very supportive.
Good.
Do what?
I'm just so sorry.
I don't.
How have your kids even though your kids are, you said, grown and flown, you said that, of course, they've struggled with this. This is so hard.
Sure.
So
Sure.
how has it affected them? And has it been hard for all of you guys to not be living in the same area going through this?
It's been very hard. So when he died, I wrote it down because I thought I'll never remember this. Did I write it down? I thought I did. Oh, yes. So when he died, they were 20, 21, and 23. But 2 of them were living with us and going to school. And so, like my youngest, she's stuck there. Like, actually, she was 19. And her birthday was a couple weeks later. So she was stuck in, why couldn't he wait till my birthday? You know, that kind of thing. So she's kind of stuck as a 19-year-old. And she's living with me. We're working, you know, doing our thing. My son moved in with his girlfriend and they moved to Nashville. And then my other daughter lives now in Canada with her husband. So it's difficult. It's difficult for me. I kind of got thrown into this world where, okay, everyone's going away. You know, everyone's fleeing. Wait, you know, I lived in an apartment by myself for a year and COVID hit. And everyone's like, oh, you got to stay in your house. You can't talk to anybody, you can't go anywhere. And I'm like, hey, you know, I'm by myself.
I'm already doing that.
Yeah, but everyone's with their family. And I'm like, but I don't have anybody. I'm by myself. So that was moved in with my parents that year because that was so hard to be by myself. But my kids had to move back from Germany during that. So that helped.
I feel like that age group for your kids is a pretty tricky age group to lose a parent. And the reason that I think that is because you're supposed to be like on your own and your own person now, but you're not quite there yet either. And so you probably don't get a ton of support from people because it's like, oh, well, you know, you're an adult. It's not that big of a deal anymore. But they're not really.
There's actually a term for this. Do you want to know what it's called?
Oh.
Yes.
I hope it has something to do with soup. Yes.
Emerging adulthood. That's
emerging.
Yes. In like the lifespan across the ages, new curriculums, they start teaching now that is a term. And I wish I had known that when I was an emerging adult, because it's true. You think that, okay, I'm 18 now, I'm an adult, the same as like an 80-year-old. And it's like, but you're not.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Anita.
Well, they like to act like.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of its own subset. And I think it would be a challenging time just because you're supposed to be good and on your own, but really you're not ready to do that yet. You probably don't get a lot of support, and it probably really throws a wrench into how you see your future and how you see your life going when that happens at that age. Also, I think it would suck to lose your parent at any
age. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, fortunately, like I said, we have a very close-knit church family that we did life with, we vacationed with and everything. So they're very, like, the men stepped in, which was nice. You know, my youngest still says, who's going to walk me down the aisle? You know, those kinds of things. Aww. You know, that's hard at any age to think about. But my other daughter she's a missionary. And so she lives in the community as well. And so they all have, well, all but my son, he and his girlfriend don't live in the community, but they all have this support. My son does not have that support and he's struggling. So, you know, it's hard, but my family, our friends, everyone has been very supportive, I'm there financially, whatever they put him through school. I mean, it's been amazing. You know, God's good. He's just blessed us through everything. And it's just, I actually did an interview at my church because we were doing this thing at Christmas called, was it Ridiculous Joy or something like that? And they're like, you've got to talk because you have this smile on your face. And how can you have this smile on your face? You know, and I just have this, I always have had a smile on my face. I always have this positive outlook. My parents taught me to be that way, but I can't make myself. And I've tried. I'm going to stay in my house and I'm going to be sad and I'm not going to talk to anybody. And I can't do it. I can't do it. I have to live. I need people, you know, I need to be out there and I need to be singing and I need to be around people. And, you know, that has helped a lot. So I think community is one of the most important things, you know, any widow needs going through, what you're going through. I hear you, Anita, talk about with your kids, I'm like, somebody help. Somebody go do bedtime for her.
Gina, do you want to come out and help Anita?
I know.
Yeah.
I'll come be your granny nanny or whatever. They
Oh,
say.
that would be so amazing.
Granny nanny. I like that.
I love that. Gina, what advice would you give to yourself really early on in your loss? And what advice would you give to other widows by suicide who are just in the thick of it right now in the very beginning times?
I think the biggest advice I would give is don't be so hung up on trying to figure out why and what you did or what they did, or did they say something? Did they not? I drove myself nuts doing that. And I actually made a lot of not bad decisions, but decisions now I think, why did I do that? That I should have taken my time, but I was so involved in trying to figure out, okay, you got this email and then this, and I was just just don't be like that. Just, remember the good times, remember, and try to have sympathy that they obviously something was wrong, mentally, emotionally, they were going through something that they weren't sharing, or they were, whatever, that we have to have sympathy for that, because that mental illness is something that we don't understand a lot of it. I mean, we pretend we do and we have medication and things, but we still don't understand a lot of what it does to our brain. And so just have sympathy for that. Just have, the sympathy for your person rather than trying to figure out why, where, what, who, how, driving yourself crazy, driving your kids crazy. I had my kids looking for stuff. Look in your rooms, did you leave a note in your jewelry box? It's ridiculous. So that would be my advice.
We really appreciate you being here today, Gina. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for talking about your husband and you and your kids and all of the things that you've gone through. We know that this is going to help a lot of people, and especially our widows who also became widows by suicide, so that they can feel less alone and know that somebody is out there that's like them.
Thank you. I hope so. That's my whole, that was my plan.
Gina, I feel like, I don't know if we should ask you this question. It seems like such a serious topic, but do you like cheese?
Yes, and I have my answers.
Yeah.
ready. I wrote it down.
Okay, good. Tell us, what's your favorite cheese?
My favorite cheese right now is Havarti.
Ooh.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Really thin
Creamy.
Havarti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice.
very
We
creamy.
approve. We'll keep you. Just
Oh,
kidding.
good.
Even if you
Thank
didn't
you.
like cheese, we would keep you. You're pretty great.
Thank you. Well, I enjoy you guys. Thank you so much. I've loved listening to your
Thank
podcast.
you. Thanks for being part of it now.
Yeah.
You're an
I'm
alumni.
excited.
Alumnus, whatever. Yes.
Alumnus. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope everybody has loved listening to Gina. She is a little ray of sunshine, but also keeping it really real and knowing that it's not always sunshine and it's really hard, but you have to keep going and keep moving, and you can't stay in that bedroom all the time eating mac and cheese and M&Ms, no matter how yummy the M&Ms are.
Or the mac and cheese. Yum.
Or the mac and cheese. Make sure you check out the Widow Wives Club. Come and join us in there. It's a really great and supportive group. Just make sure you answer all the questions and don't get angry about it. Please, we do it for a good reason. If you want to keep the podcast going, come check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
If you want to do none of those things, give us a rating and review. It's free $99 and really helps get the podcast out there for others. Until we talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
And I'm Gina.
And we're just two young widows and a widow who might be in her bedroom eating mac and cheese and M&Ms and opening a can of soup for the old guy in the grief group. We're all just trying to figure out, widow,
We
do
now. This is my favorite thing to discuss with you.
tell me, what is it?
One of my favorite things. I do enjoy tacos and cheese and dogs. This is about how you cannot pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone plan, especially when you're a widow, your person is dead, you might have kids, you might need another option, and you just want your phone to work, you want unlimited texting and service, and you want it to be like $25 a month.
It blows my mind that they have plans that start at $15 a month. That is so cheap. And the cool thing is it uses other 5G networks, and so you don't have to pay extra for that, and you still get great service.
Yep, Anita and I have traveled all over, and I have used my phone. So I highly recommend it. And my mom's even on it. When my dad died, we put his phone down to the cheapest plan, which is $15 a month. And I think my mom's on the $20 a month plan, and it's so worth it. It's so much cheaper than what we were all paying before. So I highly recommend it if you're on a budget or not. Who cares? Ryan Reynolds is in charge of the company, and they send you free stickers with Ryan Reynolds temporary tattoos. It's kind of the best. So if somebody wants to sign up, what can they do, Anita?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. Seriously, you guys. Such a great idea. Save yourself some money.
And if you're worried about losing data or having any changes with your phone, not going to happen. They walk you through it. Everything's fine. It's the easiest process of all time. Again, that's
trymintmobile.com/WWDN.